Jaylen Brown speaks up about how he still feels he's being impactful enough to make that all-defensive team that he wanted to make at the beginning of the season. And he also speaks about last night's W versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll be breaking down that news. We'll also be looking at the injury report for tonight's game, as the Celtics will have a little bit of a shaky roster going into this back-to-back game versus the Orlando Magic tonight. And then we'll also be looking at a cool stat that might help the Celtics win the championship. All that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, but before we get started into any Boston Celtics content, I would like to say that if you guys are not subscribed and you guys want to make sure you stay up to date on everything Boston Celtics news, trades, rumors, live streams, make sure to hit the subscribe button and join the Celtics Digest family. We'd greatly appreciate it, and we know you guys enjoy the content. We're so close to our goal of 3,000 subscribers, so if you guys are still not subscribed and still enjoy this content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate it. But let's dive into the video today at hand. So make sure to grab a snack, as this is going to be a jam-packed episode as we dive in looking at some Boston Celtics news. And the first news we're going to be looking at is the Celtics injury report for tonight's game. If you guys do not know, the Boston Celtics played last night versus the Cleveland Cavaliers and got a successful W. I was actually at the game, and it was a really exciting game to watch for the Boston Celtics. They win that mini series versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. They beat them on Tuesday. They beat them on Thursday. Now they have another mini series Friday and Sunday versus the Orlando Magic, who the Celtics have unfortunately already lost to this season in the in-season tournament and will be looking for a revenge game. Unfortunately for the Boston Celtics, though, it doesn't really look like it's going to be that, as the Celtics injury report is a lengthy one, Keith Smith says, for tonight's game. Jaylen Brown, right knee hyperextension, is questionable. Al Horford is out with rest as he is playing in the back-to-back. Luke Kornet with left adductor tightness is out, and Kristaps Porzingis with left calf tightness is doubtful. So, you guys do not know, yesterday's game, Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis were both questionable and probable, leading basically up to the game right before 30 minutes before. Then they were both cleared to play. Luke Kornet was ruled out of the game as a late scratch, and Al Horford obviously will be taking the rest because he doesn't play in back-to-backs. That is acceptable. But guys like Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis might not be playing tonight for the Boston Celtics, as they want to rest. Jaylen Brown obviously wanting to rest with his knee, and obviously Kristaps Porzingis doesn't want to re-injure that calf and make it more stressful throughout the whole season. So him maybe taking a day break on the back-to-back will be helpful for the Boston Celtics. He was a little bit limping for the Celtics, but with not having Kristaps Porzingis and not having Al Horford, that means tonight I'm projecting is to be a big neemias game for the Boston Celtics. The Celtics obviously don't have a lot of centers. They already used Lamar Stevens last night. They got a guy in Oshae Brissett that they can use, but some small guys like Oshae Brissett and Lamar Stevens aren't going to be the true impact center. I definitely expect to see neemias if there is no Kristaps Porzingis and no Al Horford, and I think he will have a big role tonight in tonight's game. So we'll have to see how impactful neemias can be for the Boston Celtics if he does get that playing time. But let's look at something else. We'll be looking at a cool stat that says, are the Celtics on pace for an NBA championship? And obviously the Celtics are a top team in the Eastern Conference. They definitely deserve to be in that conversation. But this cool stat makes me think that they have a very high chance of winning the championship. If you guys want to see this tweet from Mark D'Amico, he says, this marks the fourth time in franchise history that the Celtics have opened a season 12-0 at home. And the last time was 2008, when the Celtics won the coveted NBA championship and their last NBA championship. So could the Boston Celtics do it again after a great start to the regular season? Obviously, 12-0 at home, the only team still undefeated at home in the NBA, is a crazy stat to see almost 25 games into the season. I believe the Celtics are 23 games into the season at this point. So it's just crazy to see Celtics, one of the top teams in the NBA, 18-5, and also having a 12-0 home record is amazing for this team, and hopefully they can keep on pace. They're playing just like the 2007-2008 team. They are a dominant team in this Eastern Conference, and they have the star power to do it. This bench can clean up things, and we can get ready to go. I think the Celtics definitely have a clear shot of winning the championship this year. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys think this stat reflects this Boston Celtics team as well as it does the 2000-2008 team, and we will get that championship? But let's dive into the news at hand that we want to talk about, and that's Jaylen Brown speaking up. Jaylen Brown had a lot to say last night following the Boston Celtics game. He had a lot to say about his defense, and he had a lot to say about how he has been performing so far this season for the Boston Celtics. And if we want to look at that, we can look at these quotes from Jay King. He said that Jaylen Brown said the Celtics could have played a little bit better last night versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he thought that he didn't play with great effort and shouldn't have let the Cavaliers stay as close as they did. Said Boston didn't have that pop energy, and also said that Jaylen Brown on his big starts to games just throwing the first punch. That's just who I am. I ain't sitting around waiting for X, Y, and Z. We want to be the first one to be assertive. So that's always just been my mentality and everything. And I love to hear that mentality as we want to look back at that tweet. Jaylen Brown did dominance versus the Boston Celtics in last night's game in the first half. Obviously, Jayson Tatum finished with more points, finishing with 27. But Jayson Tatum had a little bit of a streaky game shooting from three, shooting 3 for 10 from three, and was mainly just shot-chalking. In the fourth quarter, he turned up, got his 14 points. But before that, in the first 3 quarters, he only had 13 points. Jaylen Brown was absolutely carrying this offense and was very efficient as well in the first half, carrying this offense, making sure he took control of the game when it was needed. A guy like Donovan Mitchell was going off for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jaylen Brown wanted to match that intensity by taking the ball in his own hands and doing his own work for the Boston Celtics. And that's something that you love to see. And you also love to see that he thinks that they could have played a lot better. Obviously, the Celtics get the W, and they were up by a lot more points. I believe they had almost like a 15 to 20 point lead around the second quarter. And then obviously the third quarter collapse comes in, where the Boston Celtics, tend to not play the greatest in the third quarter. We've seen it in multiple games this season. But like Jaylen Brown said, they obviously felt like they could have played better and said that Boston didn't have that pop or energy. It looked at some points in the third quarter that they didn't have that energy, but the Boston Celtics did a solid job in rebounding late in the game. Al Horford stepped up tremendously alongside Jayson Tatum in the rebound category. They were boxing out pretty well in the fourth quarter, and they got the job done to get the W. Even though Jaylen Brown might not have been so proud of his performance at the end of the game, I'm very proud of Jaylen Brown's performance, and I want to know what you guys think as well. Do you guys think Jaylen Brown played a great game last night, or do you guys think that it's just a fluke game for Jaylen Brown? I'm really hype on Jaylen Brown. I think he is a solid player for the Boston Celtics. I don't understand all the hate he gets, and I think some of it is very undeserved. But we'll also be looking at some more talk about Jaylen Brown, talking about how Jaylen Brown is a great defender. If we want to look at this quote from Jared Weiss, he says that Jaylen Brown on his defense this year, and this was following the game, he said, "I made a commitment before this season that I wanted to be first team all defense, and I think I'm living up to that." And if we want to look at this tweet from Chris Forsberg, he obviously says that Jaylen Brown says, "I feel like I'm playing some of my best defense of my career. I made a commitment before the season that I want to be all this defensive first team, and I feel like I've been living up to that." Chris Forsberg says that the NBA's defensive tracking data is super fluky, but does suggest Brown is playing some of his best defense. Career best in opponent field goal differential, 5% below expected output. Team numbers not as glowing, but tougher to parse individual effort. What does the eye test tell you? And I want to look and show the defensive stats for you guys here, so you guys can look at it and see what you guys personally think of how Jaylen Brown has been playing so far this season on defense. As you can see, he's gotten better over the years, and his field goal percentage, his expected field goal percentage, he's doing better with his defense, and I think he is living up to what he wants to be for this Boston Celtics team. I don't know if he's all NBA first defense. He is a great defender for this Boston Celtics team and has been an impactful piece for the Celtics, but we've seen more of our guards do a lot of the great defense. We've seen Jrue Holiday, we've seen Derrick White play very, very effective defense, and even though Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown had been really solid on the defensive side of the ball, I don't know if they are all NBA defensive and top first team defense. I think Jaylen Brown could still have to work up some things to get to that all defensive first team. But if he really wants to buy into this and be an all defensive first guy, I want to believe in him, and I truly think he can do it in his career. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section as well. Do you guys think that Jaylen Brown is living up to that all defensive team, or do you guys think he is not? But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Celtics Digest. The Celtics take on the Orlando Magic tonight in a fantastic game. The Celtics need this revenge game to bounce back and keep this home streak alive of 13-0. The Orlando Magic are going to be the biggest test to keeping this record alive, and the Celtics definitely need to do it with their injury-riddled lineup tonight. I'm Bruce Veliz. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Celtics Digest. If you guys are still not subscribed at this point in the video, what are you guys doing? Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the family. Would greatly appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.